Welcome to another episode of the Beast Files. I am Jeff831, and I got a special guest with me tonight, one that I'm sure you will know well when you see him and you hear his number, but I'm going to spoil it. We have 380 Dino in the house. Dino, how are you?
Hey guys, doing fantastic. We've finally been able to hook up. So excited to finally get together with you, Jeffrey. I know you reached out many times, but hey, with these fires burning in California, it's been nothing but crazy for the last few weeks for me. So I hope you guys understand the delay in my response. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure people do. And just to give you some color, Dino is a retired fire captain from Beverly Hills. Um, Served a handful of years serving the public, but since then also has an awesome company called Celebrity CPR where he goes and and obviously in Southern California there's movers and shakers. He goes around and trains them not only on kind of health and CPR, but also does private fire. So he's been doing his best to save as many properties as he could in the last couple weeks, and trying to get time with him is like trying to get time with the CEO or a president. So I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to getting together and talking about what's been happening with the Beast Games. I mean, that's a whole nother thing I've got going on in addition to fighting the fight and saving lives and property. Then there's Beast Games as well. So it's
Yeah,
good stuff, guys.
you're
Let's
you're
get started. What do you got for me?
we'll get started, but I mean, I I don't think I've ever told you the story of how my first interaction with you on the Beast Games, and I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. Is episode 0 on YouTube. The first challenge was the boulders, and Dino and I were both on pink team. We didn't know each other then, and at the time, afterward, one of my friends was like super excited and kind of clenching his fist and going around in circles. And I just thought he was pumped up. And then I realized he was seizing.
Right.
And my son who's got a rare disease, one of the symptoms is seizures. So I've read up on it. He hasn't had seizures to date, God willing. But I knew I had to get him to the ground. So I grab him and put him to the ground. And one of the first people over to help him was Dean, was you. I mean,
Thank you.
you're sitting there with your pink bib on, and I think I want to say it was Dan too. Um,
Right.
Get after it, dads, and it was just really awesome to see. Again, we're here to play Beast Games and fun, but I got to see you in action, literally teammates helping this guy who just had a seizure. Do you remember that moment?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, there was actually two seizures. I mean, that's one. There was actually another one that happened the following morning. But yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not a bad guy to have at a party, people. So next time at any of your special events, think about me. But my head's on a swivel. Believe me, I'm not looking to be Ricky Rescue, but hey, like I say, I mean, I've got over 30 years experience. I'm a paramedic. I mean, I've done this. I've been on many, many situations in 30 years, as you can imagine. But yeah, when that guy dropped and he was doing a full tonic-clonic seizure, I, stepped into action, keeping him left lateral. And there was other people, there as well. There's, I think Larrick was there, who's a captain at Las Vegas Fire Department. Nico, I forget. I think Nico might be in Arizona. So there were other people that identified themselves as medics or firemen with some kind of medical training. So between all of us, I mean, it's always a team effort. It's not about just one person, of course. So it's all about the team, guys. But yeah, he had his full seizure, keeping him left lateral, and with that chaos with 2,000 people trying to get someone to tell the one of the guards who's telling a wrangler who's got a radio to the EMTs in the back. And then when the guys got there, they're the EMTs. I mean, we're medics, and so we're advanced life support. They didn't even have the proper stuff
It,
to help this guy. So
it was one of these moments where we're competing, we're so jazzed up, but it was just sweet to see humanity happen. And again, I feel like if I was a painter, I could paint this image because I brought him down, and then I think Dan came over right away, and I kind of go, okay, I can step back. Again, I have zero clinical experience, and then you guys stepped in, and it was great. And I just that was my first experience of you, and kind of go, okay, this guy, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You were there to step in and step up, and then obviously I saw you throughout episode 0, and recall seeing you. I didn't really see you during the pillars in episode 1, um, but I remember getting to the city and seeing you, and I want to take us straight to the $1 million bribe,
okay,
and
good.
when we were there, obviously I was on fourth floor. You were on third floor. One of the leaders on kind of, yeah, are you ready to throw down? Then Harrison was on second floor, and then Tawana was on first floor. And Tawana was my pillar mate. I mean, I literally spent 2.5 days right next to her. Harrison was in my bribe row, and I sat next to him on a bus for 3 hours. And then Jeremy, him and I were close. I know him very well. So the only person I didn't know very well was you. And so I look up there and go, hey, 3 out of the 4 are good. Like I don't think Tawana's going to do it. I know Harrison. I know Jeremy. I wonder if Dino is going to take it. But everybody loved you. So like, I mean, like I kind of like when you get up there, like when they chose you, what was going through your mind?
It was, well, and I know we're going to focus on that, of course, but leading up to that, if you would, from zero to Amazon show and moving along as we did group challenges. And I mean, I was building a lot of friendships and people were respecting who I am and what I had to share and my motivation in life and everything I'm all about. And respectfully, it's like, we're in the Vegas games, we're on that platform. People asked me to, be the captain there with that 100 people on the platform. And as we moved through, I just kept being asked to be, holding that position. But once they started chatting, like, Dino, 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 they wanted me to be the captain. And of course, then Akira, he had a handful of people supporting him as well. And so him and I both looked at each other and he knew I was good and I knew he was good. And we shook each other's hands and we said, hey, let's just let the people decide. And then in the end, it's like I had the majority and I climbed those stairs and I was up there, baby.
Well, what's so crazy is I forgot about you and Akira, that it was up to you two. And my 9-year-old nephew pointed it out to me while we were watching
Yeah.
episode 7. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, yes. Okay, so then you get up here and like, what was like, you get up there and you've been to the top. And again, I've been to the fourth floor. You're way up there. I mean, it's like it's not just one story. You feel like you're like 6 stories up. You're looking down at everybody. They chose you. Did you know from the get that you were going to hold firm? Did you have any idea what the challenge was going to be? How high the money was going to go?
You know, when this all started, honestly, to be quite honest, I didn't know who Mr. Beast was, but I mean, if we were to back up, 13 years ago, I was actually casted on Wipeout.
Oh
So
my
if you ever
gosh!
looked up Wipeout, America's Finest, you're gonna see Dino because it was
Is
the
that
firemen against the cops against the mailmen. So that Mystic Art Pictures was the same casting agency that cast Wipeout. So 13 years ago, they had cast me for Wipeout. Fast forward to 13 years, they reach out to me. They still had my name and number. Said, hey, Dino, this is so and so from Wipeout, and there's this new game show with Mr. Beast. And I go, like, who's that? So all that happened. So I didn't know who he really was. But as my grandsons introduced me to Mr. Beast, then I started to find out about all these bribes and all that sort of thing. But even walking out of the door, when I talked to my beautiful wife Samantha, it's like we said, hey, I'm going for the 5 million. I'm going for the win. Nothing was gonna, take me down. I mean, I have integrity. I'm an honest man, and I stuck to my guns. And when I give you my word, you've got my word, and I've got your back. I
well,
grew up with my buddies, growing up, and we always had each other's back, and our word is
yeah.
our word. So
Thanks for sharing that. And again, it's what a long wait, a long hiatus, 13 years from
right,
Wipeout to here. And by the way, can we find Wipeout on YouTube? Like, is it
I think
somewhere
yeah,
circulating on
yes,
the internet?
Wipeout, America's finest. Look
Okay,
for me.
we'll find it. We'll put it in the notes. So, in once you realized that, I mean, I want to go down this rabbit hole now. Like, you get the call from the casting agency. Hey, do you want to do this? Yeah, of course. When you got into the show, when they said, "Hey, you're in," what did your grandkids say?
They were hysterical. Once I found out I was accepted, we actually my son was out of town, so Samantha and I had the grandkids for a week, and I said, "Hey, Papadino's going to be." I go by Papadino.
Yeah.
Papadino's going to be, is going to be on TV with a beast show or something. And they're like, "Mr. Beast." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, that's the guy." And so then of course, for that whole week we watched Mr. Beast videos, and then the kids tuned me up on who Carl was and Nolan and Chandler, the Tarek. I mean, the
Yep.
whole gang, right? And so by the time I got to the games, I pretty much knew who the faces were, but the face to the name kind of thing. So, but
What a
yeah, just
cool. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a cool experience. Similar happened in like me. I knew Mr. Beast from Joe Rogan. I knew Mr. Beast from my son. But when I told my son, my oldest son, that I was in it, he's like, "We got to watch every episode." So we watched as many, and it's so fun. And again, the games were awesome for us. And now just I can imagine watching it through your grandkids' eyes and my son's eyes. It's just awesome.
Yeah. In
Um,
addition to that, something kind of fun to share while we can, but during the movie premieres, right? When they had the movie premiere in Santa Monica, when they brought the $5 million to Santa Monica Pier, are you familiar with that?
yeah. Yeah. So what Dino's sharing is before the episode aired on December 19th, they had premieres for contestants and for influencers and celebrities. And they brought the $5 million to Santa Monica Pier in Southern California.
Right. So I myself with my wife and my son, my daughter, and my two grandsons, we all go to Santa Monica Pier, take pictures next to the $5 million. I'm wearing my jersey. There's a bunch of local Southern California contestants there and so forth. They're getting ready to do this. They had 1,000 drones to do this big drone show. It was just completely amazing. My son recognizes that there's in the building, the hotel across the street on the beach, he sees the beast colors on this hotel. So we walk over, right? We walk over, my whole family, right? Samantha, myself, my son, daughter-in-law, Kristen, and my two grandsons, Luke and Levi. As we walk over, and I've got my jersey on, the guy with the guard, like the regular guards in the show, he wipes his card, he opens the doors, we walk straight in. There's a reception desk, and they said, "Oh, are you here to check in?" I go, "I'm not sure if I'm on the guest list. I'm part of the show, but I'm not sure if I'm on the guest list." And this is Jimmy's private viewing with all his influencers and celebrities. And so we walk into there and she checks my name. And of course, I'm not on the list, however. And so she's all, I'm sorry. And I dropped a couple names to see if and they were so busy and slammed with so many people, as you can imagine. I'm thinking, what can, and then, I got to do what Dino does. And I know people, right? And so I'm thinking, boys, you guys got to go to the bathroom. So I asked the security guy, "Hey, where's the bathroom?" They've got to go. And they're like, "We don't have to go to the bathroom, Papadino." And I'm like,
Yes,
"You've
we
got
do.
to go to the bathroom." And so sure enough, I told them, he goes, "It's on the fourth floor." Elevators open up. There's one of our guards from the Beast games with the whole mask thing. So we get in. I get a picture with my grandsons with the guard. We go up to the fourth floor. The door opens, and there's just people everywhere. It's going off, right? And they're watching the premieres. So the boys go to the bathroom. By the time they come out, I'm walking back. We're going to walk them back downstairs. And people are coming out going, "Dino, Dino, Dino." Like people that don't even know. They go, "Hey, I know you, but you don't know me." And then next thing I know, Jimmy comes out of the premiere and goes, "Dino, you're here," like this. And so my grandsons get a picture with
Are
Mr.
you
Beast.
kidding me?
I am no,
That's
and I actually then my buddy, one of my son's best friends, he has a company that wraps cars and boats for competition. So I gave him that picture, and he was able to cut out Jimmy with my grandsons, and I did them on skateboard decks.
hey,
And so anyway, it was pretty
if you're
special.
if you're a grandpa out there and you're listening to this, I'm sorry. Dino beat you. Dino's bringing out all the stops to impress his
Yeah.
grandkids,
Anyway,
which is awesome. I know it's yeah, it's and that kind of encapsulates I think how you play
yeah,
the game, which is you're super social, you'll take risks, you're not going to take no for an answer. But going back to you shared, if someone's going to elect you, you're going to represent them well, and I kind of felt that pretty quickly after you're up there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're not no one's going to take any money like that. At least that's
right.
what I was feeling. We're going to go sleep in our bunks. And then I start seeing Jimmy and Mac kind of like they were beside themselves, like they had no clue that no one was going to take any money. Was there ever a moment up there where you kind of go, okay, my goal is $5 million, this is early in the games, my strategy here on even how I interact with my team will impact what happens kind of later on? Like, did you ever think strategy when you're up there?
Honestly, Jeffrey, when I was up there, I knew I gave him my word. We were all mic'd. I mean, early on in the game, they assigned me my own camera guy, and I was double mic'd. I mean, through the majority of the stuff, so I felt pretty special to say the least. And then once I was up there, I mean, and they voted me to go up there, and I'm a blubbery guy. I'm emotional when it comes to that stuff, and so I'm teary-eyed, and so I go up there, and I just, I had that mic was, inside my shirt, and every time I boom, 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 boom. And I think there's a couple of clips on that, one of the episodes where I'm just going boom, boom. And it was, I just remember this. It was just echoing through the B City, you know what I mean? Just this boom, boom, like my heartbeat. And it's just like, I've got you guys. And I'm giving them the love sign. And there, you see JC and everyone just biting their nails thinking, oh my God, Dino, don't do it,
Oh,
And
so good.
I knew I wasn't going to do it. Uh, would all those zeros, be nice in the bank account? Yes, but my integrity is my integrity. My word is my word. And that's where I'm at.
And
So,
I did, Dino. Thank you for sharing that. And I think one of the things that's hard to like for you hear people have texted me like, oh, I would for sure have taken that. Like, well, keep in mind, these people were chosen to represent us, and it's like when someone chooses you to represent them, it's a different feeling. It's not like, oh, you randomly got assigned to be
yeah.
the captain. That's a different story.
And let me just share also. I mean, and from day one, I'm not a politicking guy. I mean, I was voted to be on my union board as the vice president of the Beverly Hills Firemen's Association. I mean, I'm not the guy that runs around with a picket sign. Hey, pick Dino for president, right? That's not me. It's people are coming to me because they're comfortable with me. They know I'm a man of my word, and I will stick up for them, to the best I can. So, with that said, it's like in respect, I just it's a payback to them as well.
And and I think now that we're 7 episodes in, I think we can look back and go, being a captain in that situation was a good thing. I don't think that choice did anything but build social capital amongst the group. They trusted you, and I think whether it's kind of implicit or explicit, like there's this reciprocity that you earn from people. Like eventually, like they want to help people, and you heard it like, oh, like, and that's one of the reasons why Jeremy got the coins. So I'd love to kind of keep moving on in the game, and obviously you survived the cube. Like in the cube, I think we've talked ad nauseum about cubes. Like, but was yours was pretty friendly, if I remember.
Yeah. So it ended up being a 453 Michael House, right? Mikey. And then also Vicky 520, Vicky Real. And so the three of us had been hanging out. We're all kind of a similar age. I mean, I was a little bit older at 60 years old, but but we hung out. And when we did that potato sack race, and of course we didn't do quite well on that. But once we they chained us all together, we went to that cube. We didn't get anything we wanted as far as asking, but we had a good time. Jeffrey, thank you for bringing that up. But one thing I would like to share to the group and all the viewers is this is something that's worth more than the $5 million, everybody. While Dino 380 was in the Beast Games, I taught 10, if not 11 people CPR and how to teach somebody how to save a life through CPR. So I had Misha, I had Alejandro, I had Vicky, I had Michael. I had a couple people on the island where they were asking me about, medical situations they may have experienced with their families and so forth. And I took the time, because it's in my heart as a master instructor and my dedication to saving lives. I taught these people how to save lives on the island. So if one life is, here's my blubbery. If one of these, 10 people, contestants, save one life for what I did,
It's all worth
that's
it.
powerful, right?
It's so powerful, and I think that is neat. Is like, again, you. It is clear that if there's anybody who has had interactions with you, it's clear you love what you do, and like you said, you do what you love, and that's the dream of life. Go do what you love, and you'll never work another day in your life because you're swimming in kind of the moment. So you mentioned Misha.
Yeah.
So after the cubes was the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And you were on helicopter number 2,
Correct.
which was Misha did the scavenger hunt. He gets it underneath the ping pong table, comes back, and kind of walk me through that. Did you have a relationship with Misha? Was he on your floor on the towers?
He, as far as the relationship with Misha, he was my bunkmate. So in the
Sweet.
dorms, he was in the upper bunk, and so him and I had time to talk about some of his upbringing and growing up in Russia and with his family and what he's done as his occupation. And he was one that reached out to me and asked me just in the privacy of the two of us, hey, he just started asking me these medical questions if something was to happen to a family member or his girlfriend or whatever the case may be, and I ran him through the whole like life safety stuff, and we bonded in that way. But he was also part of some of the teams that I helped move along when I was voted as captain and so forth. So that was our relationship. And as he expressed when he picked me, he said, "Dino saved me as a pink team. I wouldn't be here without him." And this one's for you, buddy. So that's
That's
the reason
sweet.
why.
No, it's and Misha, well respected by all, and and when you guys got selected, and it was a great group. I mean, it was you, Dallin, Mikey, JC, um, Misha, and
Grayson.
and Grayson. Yeah, I mean, like you really think about that. That's a heck of a chopper. So you get to you kind of go off, and you don't get to see the rest of the games.
Right.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but you're going into the island, like, and and I've talked about it on the podcast. Like there's a couple checkpoints or milestones. First in the games was, hey, I'm in Vegas. I need to get to Amazon Prime.
Right.
Okay. Now you're at Amazon Prime. You're on the pillars. I need to get to the city.
Okay.
Okay. After the city, it's like I need to get to the island, and
Yes.
so you get your golden ticket to the island. What did anything shift in you? Did you have any strategy shift? Did you kind of go, okay, it's 60 people, things are getting real? I'd love to know kind of what was going through your mind in the island.
I think for me, I mean, I'm comfortable in my own skin, being 60 years old, being a father, a grandfather, a married man of 35 years, being married and so forth. It's like, I have life experience to share with a lot of these younger folks and so forth. And I mean, working in the fire service, we had a wide range of folks, right? We had people that were 21 years old. We had cadets that were 18 years old that I've mentored to be professional firefighters along with everybody else. But I have relationships with all different ages, and I think I can chuck and jive and find something to bond with everybody. So whether it's your Lucas with his ailment, or one of the other family members, or whether or not someone surfs, or somebody else drinks tea, or someone's from England, what I mean? It's like I can find a common bond, and I think that's my strength. I guess that would be my strength as far as finding a common bond between two individuals, myself and the other person. Between Mikey and I, hey, believe it or not, I mean, he's obviously a Grammy winner of, Celtic punk rock with his Pipes and Pints band. I mean, that is insane. And so
And
when
by,
him and I
by the
started,
way, please
yes,
check out Mikey's music. It's actually pretty unique and pretty rad.
yeah. But growing up early in the 80s, I mean, I was heavy into the punk rock, and I've got some ink, and I've got, I had some piercings. I mean, I had corn stalks, and I wore a kilt to high school. And
I
so
want
go
to see
figure.
I want to see some pictures.
Oh geez, yeah,
I
yeah,
need to
those
see
are
some
some of the
pictures.
skeletons. But
But
Mikey and I were able to talk about some of the gigs that we went to. We were at some of the same clubs and bands back in the day that we never even really hooked up with. So
and I mean, I'm glad you bring that up because this was my experience of you, either peripherally or directly in the game so far. But in episode 6, I'm vlogging and I'm like, hey, a name keeps coming up that really surprises me. You know, um, he's a great leader, this, that, and the other. But what happened on the island was, at least my experience, and it was echoed by a couple people. There was a little bit of a vibe shift from you, where you kind of went dark. You kind of went quieter. It kind of felt like you laid low a little bit. Is that a good kind of read from me and others? Like, was that a strategy, or looking back,
uh,
does this make sense?
I think I was just taking in the whole like relaxation that I didn't have to, put myself on the line for all these different challenges. It's like, settle down, take a deep breath, like regroup and so forth. But hey, I was eating those ice cream sandwiches. I was drinking those smoothies. I was getting my massages. Every morning I'd wake up and I'd swim back and forth out there. I mean, I brought my Speedos and my goggles, and every morning I'd swim 1,500 meters back and forth. So I was getting my workout in. I didn't participate in the volleyball. I mean, hey, as a retired fireman, I actually went off on injury where I had to have both my knees replaced. I have two metal knees, like I had full bilateral knee replacements and and my heel was rebuilt. And so I'm, and then
So,
another thing, back towards the monster games. I'm glad I didn't have to run. You guys wouldn't have wanted to see
well,
Papa Dino run. That would have been, oh my gosh, that would have been sick.
I mean, so would you say that my read and other people's kind of feeling was just misconstrued? Meaning, hey, you were there to recharge, but it wasn't like a deliberate strategy to kind of, hey, I'm going to lay low.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, I think that's accurate. I just was laying low, I'm just recharging. I didn't think I really had a strategy. I just wanted to. I do what Dino does,
And,
right? I'm
but
a
yeah, but
fun-loving, big-hearted. I've got a big heart. I love on people. I want to get to know you. What do we have in common? Can I help you? Can you help me? Let's feed off each other and let's create this bond.
and I think that's what was like. Again, it was just a handful of folks were like, "Hey, is Dino okay? He's not." So that's where that kind of episode 6 came from, which was like, man, like
Yeah.
something is off, and I don't know if he's kind of going in game mode. And so again, this is what happens with people is when we don't know what's going on, we start making stuff up. So
Okay.
people started making stuff up like, oh, Dino's Dark Dino's coming out. Like,
All right.
he's
Nice.
getting in game mode. So it's one of these things where we kind of felt a shift. Could you feel people feeling something different?
Honestly, I didn't get that vibe or anything at all. I mean, I was going around and I mean, playing frisbee and doing my thing. I mean, I went around. I mean, collected seashells and I made stuff like that and brought them home to the grandkids but I was just enjoying my time. But I mean, I obviously had my meals with everybody and there I participated in the wolf gang or whatever the wolf game or whatever that thing
Oh,
was. I mean,
werewolf.
the,
Yeah.
the, the thing is like, hey,
Court.
Jeffrey, right? I'm a 60-year-old freaking grandfather, I'm learning all this stuff, and so but I can chuck and jive with the best of them, but I'm right there doing my thing.
But this
But
is something I've always wanted to know. Like again, like
yeah,
this is something that's like in my mind. I'm like, what happened? Like, because like that was my experience, and other people said it too. I'm like, wait, okay, so knowing that now, like,
hmm
would you have done anything differently on the island?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm not gonna have any fluff. You know what I mean? Just go around and try to smooze up to anybody. It's like if people want to come talk, we come talk. If
Cool.
if they whatever the case may be. But yeah, no, I was completely good on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I want to take us right into episode 6 because that's when, like, again, that confirmed my thought because episode 6, monster truck pull, the sprint,
Yeah.
the dead hang, was amazing. Like, literally one of my favorite nights I've ever had. And, you know, I haven't asked you this, and I'm super interested.
All right, let's do it.
We had these doors. We had yellow, blue, red, mental, physical, chance. And first we were trying to make up what the heck they were. Then we had announced what they are. Like you just mentioned, you have, bilateral knee replacements. You're 60 years old. Like, why the hell did you choose physical?
Right. That's a great question, Jeffrey. So, and for me, and I voice this on the camera with the camera being, in my mug, quite often. But my response to the camera, as well as, all the viewers here, is that I figured I had already did mental. I already experienced mental by turning down the $1 million. And so I said, okay, mental's done. As far as chance, I figure I already did chance. I
Yeah,
threw the dice. I
a
drew
dozen
cards
times. Yeah.
in the red box challenge, and I succeeded in chance. My only option was physical, right? And so for physical, I figured, and I told the camera, this is like, I'm going for the trifecta, people. I've done mental, I've done chance, I'm going for physical, I'm going for the trifecta. Let's do this. Let's
I
do it,
love it.
guys.
I never knew that. And I mean, and it was one of these things. Once we get out there and we
Yeah.
walk out there, everybody kind of shifted into game mode. And I've heard it from Grayson, and Grayson was like, "I've never been so locked in," and just everybody kind of got in their game face, And again, if you're choosing physical, there's a high likelihood that you are an athlete of some sorts, and you kind of get in this game mode. When we went through and walked through and the pyrotechnics, especially as a fire captain, man,
Yeah.
this is so great.
Oh
Because I
yeah.
remember looking over and seeing the firemen there. Like, what were you thinking when you saw them and you saw the pyrotechnics?
Well, it's funny because, of course, the firemen are on standby, and there's one guy, Jamie, who's the lead, fire captain, and so obviously knowing I was a fire captain, there's this whole brotherhood behind the scenes, and so I'm high fiving, getting elbow rubs and stuff. Go get him, boy, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so I had this like outside of the camera, relationship going with everybody behind the scenes, and a lot of support with all the people behind the scenes as well, and just root me on as well. So I mean, complete love and support, as you can imagine. But and as far as me, I mean, hey, I've got a little bit of size. Hey, it's 6'2" and 217 pounds. It's like, I'm not broken. I'm just, I've had a few little body replacements, but I'm a lot of stuff is technique. And so in the fire service, I mean, if you're, throwing a ladder, if you're throwing a 35-foot ladder by yourself, or you're pulling a, fire hose, or you got to carry a gurney up and down. I mean, using your knees, using your back straight, there's technique to stuff. I've got that. I can educate others. I can motivate others. I can inspire others in
Yeah.
addition to my experience. And so I thought I've always been a good leader and a director in relations to that.
Well, I think that's an awesome share. And it's also, as a fireman, you have grit and the ability to respond quickly in ever-changing situations, and to stay calm and to continue leading. So, and I think that was evident. I think that was evident in the monster trucks. When they said the push-up contest, what was going through your mind?
Oh my gosh. So, I'm sure everyone knows out there, all the viewers, man, I love you guys. But, for a while there was that whole like a 25 push-up challenge going around.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know how they do those challenges
Yeah,
on
of course.
Facebook or whatever, it's the ice bucket challenge or it's a push-up challenge. There's always something going on, right? Something new every month. But there was something going around. It was either a 25 or 50 push-up, you know, contest going on. And so quite often, like every day I was doing 25 push-ups, and Samantha and I, it was during COVID, and we were traveling around in our Sprinter van, and I'd be outside of Yellowstone National Park, and she's videoing me, and I'm pumping out my push-ups, and this is way before the Beast Games, but hey, I like to stay fit, guys. It's like, I've done triathlons. I've ran marathons. I've done a bunch of triathlons, sprint, Olympic, half Ironman. I attempted Ironman. However, I didn't finish, unfortunately. And that's a whole nother story. That's another,
Next podcast.
another interview. But, so hey, I'm not broken. I'm motivated. I'm a go-getter. One thing about firemen that I can tell you this about that is that we're story changers. When people call 911 because something's wrong, we want to get there and change the way that story ends.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's somebody choking and we can relieve them, or if it's a monster truck and we can't get it over the speed bump, or whatever that case is, we're story changers. We want to make the way that, we want to change the way that
Well,
story ends.
Dino, I have to share this with you. I haven't shared it, and it's kind of funny. Is when they did the push-up contest, I looked
Yeah.
down, and again, I saw Mikey work out. Him and I worked out together in
Okay.
the same gym in Panama at the hotel, and I'm like, okay, dude, he's good. He's strong, and he does calisthenics. And I see Eric, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to win this thing.
Okay.
Okay, so I need to conserve energy, but I'm not going to let Dino beat me. So, so,
Nice.
so
Okay. All
literally,
right. I got you.
well,
That's
well,
cool.
it's one of these things. Like, hey, like again, we're the two silver-haired guys. So I look down the line, and once Dina goes down, I'm like, okay, I'll do like 3 or 4 more, and that's what I
I
did.
love it.
So
Yeah.
that was my, because like I got so much grief from my buddies, like, dude, like you didn't do enough push-ups. I'm like, hey, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to
Yeah. Yeah.
beat Dino and then to relax. So
Yeah, I may have got like 14 or 16 or whatever it was, and it's like, yeah, believe
hey,
me, I was getting a little bit of rub from my kids as well, but it's all
we
good.
had. I mean, I think you and I, like, we have to conserve energy. Again, we're not spring chickens. We're not 20-year-olds. So
Okay.
now we get to picking teams,
Yep.
and Mikey's first pick, and I was, I'll be honest, I was surprised by Mikey's first 2 picks. Um, and then I realized, oh, he's going for, speed and agility. Because when Grayson picks Jordan 499 and Grayson or Matthew 803, I go, dude, those three are hosses. Like those are
Right.
some big boys. And so then we get down and Mikey picks Monece before you or Christian.
Hmm.
And again, you and Mikey been through the cubes. You guys wrote rap songs together. Like you guys have been kind of thick as thieves, at least in my mind. What were
Yes.
you thinking at that moment? Were you thinking, oh, like, what's going on?
There was yeah, there's a little bit of this is kind of interesting, with say without doubt. But I know Mikey and I were tight. I was hoping I wasn't going to go home, but I don't know if I've ever been the last person to be picked on a team or whatever. But in all respect and all courtesy to both captains, it's I am older, right? A
Yeah.
little bit heavier, a little bit slower, and so we're looking for size and speed. I mean, this is physical, and this is the Beast Games. We are going for $5 million, and so at this point, people are thinking about themselves other than
Yeah.
what kind of teams they're building.
Well, but I will say in retrospect, and it works out well that we won. We
Yeah.
won that challenge. Is I was over there kind of like, oh my gosh, like looking at them, looking at us, and kind of going, again, my
Yes.
friends were on our team, Patrick, Gage, Eric, I'm like, oh, I feel good about this. And then, but I was also like, I feel like it's David versus Goliath. Like we're
Yes.
going to need a lot of help.
We are the
So
underdogs. Yeah.
when Monece got selected before you and Christian, she brought this like skip into our team, and she just gave me this boost of energy, and like she was the one who kind of instilled hope in me at that moment.
Okay.
So I'm so glad it went that way. Like she just, I
Yeah.
mean, you can see it on the episode too. But I've told
Oh,
her
she's
this. Like, it was
awesome.
just she brought this awesome energy,
Yeah.
and then we get you, and then we get Jazz, and I look around and kind of go, and again, Monece, 182, thank you. I kind of feel like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I
She's a
don't know what we
motivator.
got, but we have something here.
Yeah.
We have something here. Um, and then Jimmy, counts us down on your mark, get set, go. And within 20 seconds, the orange team is way ahead of us.
Yes. We are like,
Yeah,
we
and,
could
and,
not move that thing.
and
Yeah.
me and you, my right shoulder is rubbing on your left shoulder. What were you thinking at this moment?
I'm just thinking, dig, dig. I mean, from what the video showed, in my mind, my nose was 2 inches from the ground with all my weight like leaning forward. I mean, we were just pulling, and we were not rolling that thing. And it's like, oh my gosh, it was. I mean, it took forever. I mean, in the episodes, of course, they only showed. We tried. It was you. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, wasn't it our fourth go before we actually got it over? I mean,
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
didn't they edit out two of our
at,
chances, or
at least because I remember we pushed it back, and then
three times, I think.
we pushed it back, and I remember it was Patrick who was on the show, but it was also Gage and Eric, 990 and 974. They said,
Yes.
"Hey, we need to push it back further."
Yes.
And again, like you and I are the kind of the lead oxen. Like we're like the ones who are like in the middle, and it's like,
Right.
okay, what do we need to do? Okay, we'll just do it. And
Yep.
like once I heard them push back, like, okay, I like this, and then Gage was kind of giving that instruction, and Gage was stepping up. Like I was just super impressed by Gage on this episode,
Hmm.
and we kind of get that first one over, and then you see it in the episode too. Like none of us stop pulling, and we sprint, and when that second tire goes over, what were you feeling?
Celebration, baby, celebration. Nothing but celebrate. Well, you know what? So let's hold on. So when those guys, we attempted once, unsuccessful. We pushed it back 10 feet. In my mind, I'm thinking we push it back 10 feet. We try again, unsuccessful. 10 feet, unsuccessful. And then Gage and Patrick, or whoever the two were, I mean, you're probably involved in that as well. But they're thinking, let's go back. In my mind, it's let's go back 15 feet. That's going to allow an extra rotation on the wheel. That's what we're going to need. At least that's what I mean, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Was we had to go back a little bit further just to get that extra rotation. And to be quite honest, actually today, the day we're filming this, this podcast, is that I was at the firehouse today at Beverly Hills Fire Department, filling up some oxygen bottles, and the guys were asking me that same question, like, what were you guys thinking? What about how was the whole monster truck thing? And they were just cheering. I mean, we've got the support of the Beverly Hills Fire Department just screaming out of
Oh,
their chairs on Papa Dino. I mean, yeah, so much excitement. But once we got that, we back 15 feet, that gave us that extra rotation of that wheel up and over. And then once we knew we were there, it's like, dig, dig. I mean, we were all lost our voice. We were just feeding on each other, and Monece and Jazz and Patrick and Mikey. And, I mean,
it
we
was
were digging deep. We
it
gave it all.
it was unbelievable, and I
Yes.
think and this is a really okay. I'll chat about that in a little bit because I don't want to kind of spill the tea
Yes.
yet, but once we got through that, we kind of looked around and kind of go, holy shit, like we can win this thing. Like Mikey picked us for speed, and speed's next. Like we got this. So I remember going in the van and we're waiting. So like this was all filmed in one night. And so, and it's a chilly night and it's past midnight and we're in the van listening to some cool music. Like everybody's pumped up. Like I am, like my legs are cramping. Like Gage is like massaging my calves so I can actually walk.
Dry
Like,
heaving. I mean, oh
dry
yeah. Oh my
heaving.
God.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those moments that was just wild.
Yes.
And then we get to the flags, and you know, we kind of had a strategy on monster trucks, which is like, hey, like we need to pull it, and then once we kind of come into an obstacle, like let's think through it, and we
Yes.
did.
Okay.
On flags, I feel like we didn't have a strategy. I feel like it was like very, Mikey's gonna go first. Okay, he loses to Matthew. Ozzy's gonna go first. Like we kind of look around. I guess I'll go. And you know, quickly after we're down 2-0, you look at their team, look at our team, we go, okay, this is not going to go well. When did you realize that we were in trouble?
Well, for me personally, I think for me, if I wasn't going to run on that first go, I knew it was going to be ugly. I mean, because I'm not a long distance runner anymore with my, my knees and so forth. And it was funny because in the episode when it showed like, the girl saying, "Hey, I could take Dino down. That's easy." You know what I mean? And respectfully, it's like, "Hey, hats
You're
off.
right.
I'm sure you can because I'm not fast anymore. I mean, I used to, run like the Dickens, but nowadays, yeah, I'm kind of slow and hobbled. And so the guys at the firehouse, they'd say I'd be looking like Charlie Chaplin running to the bathroom, like
Oh
running
my
down there.
God.
And it wouldn't have been pretty for TV,
Well,
folks. And so,
I think on that note, like doing the strategy differently, it's kind of going, okay, Ozzy steps up, and Ozzy's 23, played lacrosse, he's an athlete, he's in
yeah,
shape. It's kind of going, hey Dino, we're gonna put you out there. Obviously, so it's kind of like, hey, we're gonna make them use and expend some awesome ammunition, you know, against Dino. So like I think those are some things that I thought about afterward. But I'll fast forward this one. We only won one. And it
yep,
was Monece, 182, who's a speedster.
yep,
And then we kind of get in the van and kind of go, okay, the last one's stamina. And we start driving back to the city. And I remember this because, like, again, everybody in the games knows Patrick, 930, isn't strategist. You know, he's always trying to figure out what's next, what's going on, this, that, and the other.
right.
I love it. I eat it up, and Patrick and I have known each other since Vegas. You wanted nothing to do with it. Like, I don't know if you remember, but you're like, I don't want to strategize. I don't care. Let's just focus. Let's focus. Did you ever, at least and I don't know, that might've been the moment of physical, but like, were you ever a strategist? Like, did you ever kind of try to think through and talk out like, hey, this is what I think this episode it is? Or were you always, there's some schools of thought are like, hey, just let me wait till Jimmy announces it and I'll figure it out.
I think, and I don't remember me kind of like stepping or not wanting to acknowledge it or whatever, however you'd mention it, but basically I think for me with all the different games, everything we spent so much energy and discussions about, like none of us were ever right. Everything was wrong. It's like, it was so, Jimmy and his team are phenomenal. These guys are wicked smart, and so I love these guys. And so everything we thought about was for naught anyway. So it's like, I'm not going to spend my energy and strategize. It's like, I don't even know what's going on, but stamina is stamina. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it when it gets there. But that's one thing about, if you want to spin back my whole like mentality on being a fireman, it's like we'd be sitting around the firehouse eating our lunch. The bell goes off, right? Respond to a, infant choking, or respond to a 9-year-old heart attack, or respond to a vehicle flipped over on fire, people trapped, respond to a allergic reaction, respond to a, amputated arm. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like I wait.
wow.
I can snap. My head is like I think on the go. It's like when the call comes in, and they present the games, the rules. It's like my mind starts clicking. Those gauges in gear.
That's
Gauge in, and then I move from there.
That is awesome. And it's crazy that I never thought about it. It makes complete sense. I mean, that is your life. That was your life for decades.
Yeah.
as a fireman and ultimately a fire captain is like, it's not like, oh, tomorrow we're going to have a 3 alarm fire at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
It's,
pre-planning this stuff. Yeah.
you know, thank you
You're
for
trained
sharing
and
that. Yeah.
prepared for anything at any given time, right?
Yeah.
From the old and young, the death and dying. I mean, that's what we did for 30 plus years. So
So I love it because I mean, and again, we were wrong. So I mean,
yeah,
what Patrick and I remember going to driving over there, and Patrick was kind of like stamina, like we're like kind of looked around like we're in trouble, and I'm like, get it together, we're gonna win this thing, okay? Get it together, get your mind right,
good.
and
Yeah.
we thought there was gonna be some giant boulder because we saw like the pulleys. We thought there was
Okay.
gonna be a giant boulder that our team was gonna have to, like they would pull it up and we'd have to hold it. And the last one for the team, the first one where it drops on the ground would lose. Like that's what
Oh,
Patrick and I were chatting about.
interesting. Okay.
But then we get there and we see the bar and we see the chalk. And the only thing I didn't know was, is this going to be a team game? Like we go 1v1 like flags.
Yep.
But we quickly found out that it was select one person.
Yes.
And I remember, I remember how I felt. I would love to hear, once you heard the rules here and your Dino mind goes click, 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 I know what's going on.
Hmm.
How are you feeling?
I was feeling good. I mean, once I heard it was just going to be one person, I mean, without a doubt, my focus was straight to Mikey. I mean, granted, I mean everything him and I talked about. I mean, from playing chess in the in the courtyard to hanging out and talking about bands and stage diving at the Whiskey A Go Go and so forth. And so I knew this guy was solid, 100%. And coincidentally, you may not know this, but he actually lives about 15 minutes from me. And so we've met for coffee on several occasions. And Mikey House, I know you're watching, baby. Peace
Well,
out. I love you, man. This guy's awesome. And I knew he had us and he was going to represent our team well.
Dino, you weren't the only one. Like immediately after I heard that, it was, I had, again, and I played college sports.
Hmm.
Mikey, I can count on probably one hand how many times I've seen someone as zoned in as Mikey. Like the push-up contest, his form was perfect. I really think he could have done 40 to 50 more push-ups.
Oh, 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
and he is one of those silent assassins. He leads through action and choice words. Very few but choice words that are powerful. And so once I realized that, and I kind of look over at him, and he is like, "Yes, like I can do this."
Yes.
I'm like, I kind of felt super at peace, and we quickly made our decision. We felt good about it. We kind of got in a huddle. We had some words. We said kind of a general prayer, and like we just got pumped up and like, Lord, bring it home, bring it home.
Right.
And it was just awesome. And then now you see the cut and you see the edit of the other team, and I think from the get, we were so many legs up because Mikey had our full support. Like
Mm.
there was nobody on our team who was second guessing, nobody on our team who thought anybody else should go. And I think in a situation like this, a 1v1 that is endurance and mental as well as physical, I just think it put us in an awesome spot.
Let me ask you, in the event that Mikey wasn't interested in doing it, who would have been your vote? Who do you think you would have wanted to go step up? Who would you have
Gage,
supported?
Gage,
Huh?
Gage,
Oh, good
974.
page. Yeah.
Yeah, he is lean and strong and outdoorsy. Um,
Yes.
I don't know who else. Eric maybe, but
Yeah, I was
I
thinking
mean, like,
Eric as well. So Gage and I hooked up on the whole because he's an EMT, right? He's a tennis instructor, as you know. I'm sure you've probably taught you got close with Gage, but his tennis instructor. He's also an EMT. He's looking to be in the fire service. I've mentored a lot of people, so even though he's a pretty quiet guy, but we're still in the process of building our relationships up. But I've extended myself as much as other people on the Beast games that I've met as far as mentoring them and so forth in regards to pursuing their careers as firefighters and so forth. So,
Ga-
Gage, if you're listening out there, you got my number, baby. Let me know when you're ready.
he's an absolute stud. He's a great leader and also just a great man.
Yes.
Yeah, so Gage was kind of the second choice for me. But
Okay.
once we
Cool.
went up there, and again, I love hearing your anecdotes. Like, he's shaking now. Ozzy, he's not gonna be up there for long.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we all felt.
Yeah.
And then after after Ozzy dropped, I felt like Mikey held on for another 30
He did.
seconds.
Yeah. He
And
was zoned. I know when Mikey, because I talked to him before, after. I mean, we had coffee over it. We talked about. I mean, we have beat this thing over. And the guy is just wicked awesome. Love the man. And he said he could. He just zoned out, and he's just looking straight ahead the whole time, and there was nothing that was going to stop him until they said, "Okay, you can let go now."
yeah.
He was not going to let go.
And,
So
and and one of the things that I don't think the edit has shown about Mikey is because he is relatively quiet, but he is one of the most positive people.
yes,
He does not want to deal with negativity, and he's not going to be a jerk about it. But he's like, hey, if you're gonna do this or
yes,
that, I'm not going to be a part of it.
he'll just
Doesn't work for me. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be solution oriented, and I just I appreciate that about 453. So
100%.
so now the physical challenge is done, and
Okay,
here is where I think it gave a huge leg up to us going into the top 21. Because you think about mental. Mental was 1v1. Chance was chance. But physical was team. Like, I didn't know Jazz and Monece very well going into physical.
okay,
I consider them great friends today because of what we went through. You know, um, Eric, Eric, I knew him barely. I met him for breakfast or, maybe a day before. He became my favorite person in Beast Games after the physical
okay,
challenge. So
all
it's like,
right.
like the thing about teamwork is like you kind of get this place where like you're a team, like you look out for one another, and it was I thought it was really interesting, at least for me. That was my experience, kind of going into the trolley, and then once the rule set got pushed out, it's kind of go, okay, I feel you know I could get eliminated, but I kind of feel like, geez, at least we have the team that other. I felt like we had an advantage that other people didn't. Is what I felt. It's like taking you back to the trolley,
Okay,
and we get the masks on, we get on the train, we drive a couple hours. I felt like kind of to rural Canada, and
right.
it was a super hot day. Then they take us off, they put the masks back on, and they walk us. And I felt like we were walking several hundred feet.
Yeah, yards. Yeah.
Yeah, when we get to this platform, they take off our masks, and we look and see a train track. Um, what were your initial thoughts?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, I didn't know. Once again, it's just like just absorbing, taking everything in. Obviously appreciating the advancement that all of us have done. We've stuck together. We've been looking out after each other. Just the relationships we've built has been nothing but positive. I mean, a lot of us were closer, with some than others. But I like to think that I had a lot of, with my gameplay, I built a lot of relationships along the way, and I thought they were valid with everybody standing up there. And yeah, I mean, I was completely comfortable as far as what to expect. I had no idea. Obviously, being on that platform with a train track, with the bridge above us, with the throw handle, I was like, oh my gosh, what does he have in store for us now? This guy, yeah, he is something else. This
It's going to
Jimmy.
get crazy. I mean, and you mentioned gameplay, and I kind of want to just talk, generally speaking. I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had
Hmm.
to describe your gameplay using 2 or 3 words, what would you use?
Honesty, integrity, and my heart.
Cool. Yeah. No, it's
Yep, that's who I am.
awesome. So okay. So now going back, the game is introduced, and you kind of realize that okay, like they let us know that over half of us are going to go home, and that it's kind of the trolley game. It's the kind of Sophie's choice. Like you're going to be put through challenging situations. Did you have a strategy um, kind of rolling through your mind? Was like, hey, like, did you understand that like, hey, decisions I make, whether it to be a captain or not, or encourage somebody or not, could impact the outcome?
I guess indirectly because the video showed me, obviously, chiming in people's ears, like on the side. But up until the game was up until the the first event was announced, I kind of mentioned to Akira, and I said, "Hey, if you go, I completely have your support. He trusted in me for the pink team for the $1 million. Either way, I knew I had trust in him. He had trust in me. I knew we were good, and so I was completely comfortable with Akira stepping down as captain. For me personally, at this point in the game, I thought I kind of, there's a time to be a leader and there's time to be a follower. And I've mentioned that a few times on the camera, however, it had been edited. But hey, I'm good either way. And so at this point, I said, I just wanted to, settle down and just kind of get out of the limelight and just be a follower and just let my, whatever good deeds I had already,
Banked, yeah.
sowed or whatever, however, so the just let those run their course, and then whatever happens happens. And so once they're looking for captains, I told Yakura, like, are you going to do it? I'm like, I'm good. It's like I think I'm comfortable. I would rather like not. I want to kind of pump the brakes for a minute here, and then please, if you go for it, I've got you.
There's so many motivations in this game. One of them is money. The other is once you start playing the game, and again, as older, like as parents and grandparents, it's like, man, I haven't had this much fun in forever. It's like, I
Right.
don't want this to end. Like, this is so exciting. It's fun. I'm building great relationships. So a lot of things going with it. But yeah, if you selected the $1 million, you're going home. Like
Mm-hmm.
the moment someone can eliminate someone, you're
100%.
going home. And the further you advance, the bigger the target goes. And that's kind of what happened with Mia 952. And again,
Okay.
she's a hell of a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to know her better after the island. And we have a kind of a lot in common. We're kind of born around the same time. She looks a lot younger than me though. But
Yeah, I'd say that.
when she moved on after Chance, her target got bigger. Like, hey, okay, only 4 out of 16 made it through, and you're one of them. We need to
Right.
take you out. So I think that was Akira's approach, and he didn't know Rakia, and he didn't know Monece very well. So I'm like, okay, he's choosing these people because he doesn't know them.
Sure.
And then the next one, I'm like, okay, now who's he going to go? He's going to go who I think he thinks people might not deserve it or haven't earned it for some reason. So I kind of felt good there too. So I voted for Akira second
Okay.
time as well.
All right.
The third time, I was going to vote for Akira. And I remember, I was like, I felt good about it. Bethany came up to me and goes, hey, by the way, if I'm captain, like, you're safe. She said it to a couple of us. And, I didn't know Bethany very well. We had a couple conversations at the island. But Gage grabbed me and said, hey, if Akira, and this is on the episode of Gage, he said, if Akira gets selected, I think he's going to choose me.
Mm.
And I told Gage I don't like that, because Gage became a really close friend of mine. I'm like, okay, if I can protect you, I will, because Bethany said this. So that's why I chose Bethany,
Okay.
865.
Yeah.
And then when Bethany was chosen and up there, did you have a relationship with her? Did you have a connection with her?
No, I know when we were on the platform, Bethany just kind of said, we weren't allowed to talk and so forth when we're going back for breaking for lunch or using the bathroom breaks. And on the lowdown, she's like, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. Like spread the word. But other than that, quite honest, to be quite, I've never had spoken to her, but she's obviously, married with a child. I mean, lovely girl, you know what I mean? But I didn't know
Yeah.
her from up in the standing of the play. I don't even know if I ever recognized her,
Wow.
to be quite honest. So
Hey,
unfortunately, and how weird is that? Because as close as we are, as we're moving through the games, there's still people you don't even have relationships, and you don't. And I'm a social butterfly. It's like I want to know Jeffrey. I want to know Monece. I want to know Gage.
but
And
but
so
this is one of the reasons why I asked you about your island strategy because, again, like I just because that's where I got to talk to so many people. I didn't know that many people, so I just didn't know if it's like that was in my mind. I'm like, I need to leave the island talking to every person. I need to get to know
okay,
them. And again, I like it. Like my job is to talk to people and get to know them and find their interest. So like you chose her or she got chosen. You didn't really have a relationship with her. She immediately picks Akira and Colton. the two friends who just made it, and I get it.
Sure.
When they brought out the mystery guess,
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't like to strategize. I know you don't like to kind of forecast things that you don't
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
did you have anything going through your mind?
I was thinking it was her.
Me too.
Yeah. It was. I mean, that's kind of the. I mean, it kind of just
And it was
whatever.
word choice for me. They said mystery. They didn't say random. Because for me, like it'd be really weird. Like, how would you select 380 Dino? Like that would be like.
It was
So
just a
for
lottery draw or something, but no.
Yeah. So they didn't choose the word random. They chose mystery. So I said, oh, it's her. Like,
Right.
it's her. And then she chose Courtney, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna save Courtney, but like it's gonna be her. But also in my mind, I go, okay, that's 9 down now. Now we're down to 12.
Okay.
Now 2 more to play.
Yes.
So now we're down to the final 12. And
Jeffrey,
Jimmy,
let me pause you.
yeah,
Are you telling me that we started with 2,000 to 1,000? That 1,000 went to the Amazon show. That 1,000's fighting for $5 million, and we're down to 12 people, and you and I are still in it. Is that what you're telling me?
that's what I'm telling you. I mean, do you know
Yeah, baby. Keep on going. Let's go.
I think it's 99.4%.
Oh
We
my
were we
God. Are you
advanced further than
kidding me?
9.4% of the people. It's crazy. I mean, it really is. And again,
How
man,
many episodes are there?
there's 10,
And what episode are we just watched?
7,
And how many were left?
3.
And who's still in it?
Papa
We
Dino.
are.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay. All right. All right.
it's
Just checking in. Just checking in.
yeah,
Okay.
no, it's one of those special things where like again, the games have a prize, but part of the prize is playing the game, and
Okay.
it's really hard to describe this to people, but it was an adventure of a lifetime. It was so fun.
Yes.
And met some awesome people like Dino. So okay, now we're in the top 0.6%,
12.
the top 12.
Wow.
And this is when it shows you kind of going around and talking to folks. And you go to Yessie and Emma, like, hey, you ready to step up? You go to Queen, hey, you gonna do it? All right, you give her a fist pump. You go to JC, Coach JC. It's got a nice ring to it. Come on,
Right.
Coach, you gonna step up? What was the strategy here? Were you just trying to see people's responses, or were you encouraging someone to go? Like, were you trying to find people who you're in good standing with? Like, I'd love to know what was going through your mind.
To be quite honest, I would have to say I think those were folks that I helped along the way, and I was trying to encourage them and inspire them. It's like, come on, it's like everyone's kind of, it's fun. Like everybody's doing it. Like step up, be a leader. You know what I mean? It's your time to shine, baby. Come on, JC. And then I think I was just trying to motivate and inspire people to do something like that because I didn't want to do it. But to be quite honest, as we move forward, I'm sure this is leading into your next question, was that I gave Queen I gave basically what was it? I spoke to Queen, and she says I'm going, I'm doing it, and I gave her the fist bump. I'm like, good for you, right? And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Queen steps down. And then Jimmy, and I could have my timing off here, but then Jimmy says, "Oh, by the way, that whoever steps down as captain will automatically be immune and move on to the top 10." And without a doubt in my mind, I remember looking back thinking, out of the rest of the people, there was at least 6, if not 7 people that were on, that were part of my team that I helped like move along from the turning down the $1 million. I
Really?
thought there was about, huh?
I mean, you remember like so who was on the third floor with you that was still there at the time? Do you remember?
The third floor or as far as I don't remember all the names. I mean, so there
No, but
was several of them because I remember
wow,
Jimmy calling them out saying, "Weren't you on Dino's team? Weren't you on
really?
Dino's team?" Like
Yeah.
JC. I mean,
Yeah.
and I forget all the names, excuse me. But I remember looking back and I'd seen several people that I moved along the way, and I thought, well, hey, maybe this is my time to, show a little, they're going to show a little love back. And especially when he said, hey, that person, whoever steps down as captain is going to be immune to move on to the top 10. I looked back and I remember seeing the faces, thinking they were familiar faces. I thought I was in good standing. I stepped down, and Queen kind of like lights me up, right? And respect Queen. I'm sure you're watching, baby. But the Queen looks up and goes, "Dang, Dean! Like Dean, I told you I'm doing this one. I want this one." And I'm like, "Hey, it's everybody's get you right." I'm at this time is probably, to be quite honest, Jeffrey. This is when I think I shifted into game mode,
Yeah.
thinking, okay, now I really need to like get focused because I'm going to be immune and I'm going to move on to the top 10. And so I stepped down, and then of course Tawana, she had her relationships going on. Then she steps down, and now there's three of us, as we know. And Jimmy, now he starts calling people out. Stand behind you, want to represent.
Yeah, and so, again, we have two of the $1 million captains.
Yes.
380 you, 830 Tawana, and then we have Queen 817. And Queen is an amazing game player. Like she can
She's
see the
smart.
board before everybody else. She was a terrific leader in a force. Like these are three rock stars kind of competing. When you went down there and then Tawana joined and Queen was already there, um, there's 7 people or there's 9 people behind who are going to vote. Did you have an idea of how many votes you think you would get? Like, did you feel like in a good spot, or did you feel like, oh no?
I felt completely comfortable. 100%, I felt confident.
Okay.
And before I stepped down, I thought, I, you know, I just felt good, just because of all the support I've had since day one, the support, the relationships, everything that I've inspired other people to do, and all the motivation. And I thought, for sure, this is going to be this should be a no brainer. And one by one, as Jimmy called them out, and they stood behind Tawana, and I'm thinking, oh my word, sorry. He goes, oh my gosh, this isn't looking good for Papa Dino.
Yeah, and the thing about this, obviously there's a lot of ethical dilemmas in this, or moral dilemmas in this episode, but also there's also like people have short memories, or the things happen so quickly that something happens right now.
We call it amnesia to the event.
Or the alternative is actually true, meaning they actually a choice that's made right now could impact someone else's choice. Meaning, if Yessie chose you and everybody else chose Tawana, Tawana might go, "Oh,
Oh, right. No support.
you didn't choose me. All right,
Hmm.
get on this track." So it's one of these things where I don't understand. I don't necessarily know if it's a total reflection of people's sentiments, but it's a lot easier to ride the horse in the direction it's going. And after a couple people chose Tawana, I don't think anybody wanted to buck the trend. And
Agreed.
me personally, and I'll tell this to you and I'll tell it to Queen, I was going to vote for Tawana regardless. I just had a great relationship and from the pillars, and I just trusted her a ton. I loved how she played the game. So
Let me interject. So, in support of what you just shared, and looking back and knowing, as we mentioned earlier during this interview, was the relationship between Mikey and I was tight as beans, right? We had each other's back all the way. And when I look back and he's standing behind Tawana and not Dino, I'm thinking, and respect. And I have no disregard of the man, because he's solid. I still love him to this day. But right,
and,
jump on the train. That's where everyone's going. Had he stepped behind me, yeah, things may not have been as pretty as they looked, right?
yeah, it's and like I think once we were in the island, the games really started to be played because you had a lot more agency. You had a lot more choice over what you were doing. So we got the chosen to physical, and then in this episode, you got to choose whether you're a captain or not. You get to choose how you interact, and you get to choose how you play the game. Do you want to speak up? Do you want to be quiet? Do you want to encourage people? Do you want to have tough conversations in between? So the games got really fun. I mean, I think this episode, I remember it because it was like a super hot day. Like I remember this day very well, and it just hit me like, oh, the games have begun. Like this is what I've been waiting for. Is because again, 21 players, you can really start interacting a little differently.
Crazy. Yeah.
So so then Tawana gets up there, and again, Tawana, um, you know, really good with words, really good kind of being able to kind of engage with the camera too. Um,
She is determined.
so we get back to it, and 380,
Yeah.
get on this track.
Yes.
Did you have any clue what the next challenge would look like? Like, did you know if it was going to be this like Sophie's Choice? Did you? Did, well, let me take that back. So Tawana gets up there, and Jimmy says, "Okay, you're going to pick two people. You know, who are you going to pick first?" And she says, 380. Come out here on this track.
Right.
You know, and you see your response, you feel it. You can kind of see how you're feeling, but like, what was going through your mind?
Wow, Jeffrey. That's to be quite honest, I knew it was coming because if it wasn't me going on the track, if I was selected as captain, it was her going on the track. And it was my gut feeling. I think I have a pretty good feeling on people and so forth. And it was like, I knew I was going to go for her, and I knew she was going to go for me. It was just we had no love. We had no common bond. I would say we never really merged and talked. No, fuzzy wuzzy conversations along the whole experience of the Beast Games. And so when she called 380 out, I was a little bit surprised when she said, like, you've been, like pointing her finger, like you've been going around and talking to people and alliances and talking behind people's backs. And I'm like, I was completely taken off my heels, to be quite honest, because that's not me.
But I think she was talking about what was just happening in between the shoots, meaning like, are you going to
Oh,
step up? Are you going to step up? So that's what's so crazy about this game is your actions right now can impact what happens right now. Where usually in the game it's your actions today impact what could happen a week because like it's like social. This one was it was just so tense. It was so fresh. So I remember the exchange. I mean, it was heated. You know, it was. I mean, there was words back and forth, and and I have to point out as a numbers guy, sorry, you're no more numbers guy. This is 380 versus 830. Before Colton was 359 and 539 Akira. Those two got eliminated at the same time. Back
okay.
in episode 6, it was 453 Mikey against 435 Ozzy. It's like we're living in the Matrix. Like I don't know how they teamed up all these kind of synergies with numbers, but now
Okay.
we have 380 versus 830.
Yeah.
Tawana's up on the bridge, yelling down. You're up. You're standing your ground. And it was as a bystander. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is intense. So then number 2, she chooses 817 Queen. I'm gonna trust my gut here, and I think this
Okay.
is gonna be good. Um, when did you realize that you were gonna choose someone?
Well, obviously, I had no idea because obviously, we knew two were going home. I had no, everything we anticipated and try to think what Jimmy's, new twist was going to be. Had no idea he was going to throw it back at me to pick someone to go on the track with me, however. And so I think at this point, once he presented that opportunity, or not opportunity, he presented that order, like, okay, Dino 380, you get to pick someone to join you, right? And
And
at that point, you want to spin on that?
no, I was just gonna ask you. Do you remember how much time you took to make this decision? Like I was trying to think about it, and I have no clue.
To be quite honest, I felt I was rushed. Okay, so once he said, Dino, you get to pick somebody to go on the track with you, uh, I felt I was somewhat rushed. Like, come on, you got to pick somebody. I remember looking back and I thought people were kind of scrambling, kind of hiding behind each other in my mind.
Oh, I was hiding. I
And
remember
yeah,
like I remember
and
Patrick
so
was like, hey, yeah,
and yes, and I remember, and I look at JC and I thinking JC was going to be my first choice,
wow,
right? And so I look at JC and I thought about his two boys.
Wow.
JC, I know you're watching this, baby, so you better freaking show me some love. I look at JC and I'm thinking, I'm going to take JC to come join me on the track.
And so, okay, this is
And
news. This is news to me. Like, and
hold on.
JC, but I
And
want to
so,
know why
go ahead.
JC.
Sorry. Huh?
Like, I hadn't heard this that you were like JC was gonna be your first choice, and JC's is fun loving, mostly liked. Like, what did you think? Okay, so walk me through why you thought JC might be a good choice.
I think he was my first line of sight. Everybody was in my mind, and believe me, with the everything going on, folks. Like unless you're there on the stage with the pressure and the adrenaline and everything going along with this, I remember looking over. Everybody's kind of like I'm thinking people are hiding behind each other and scrambling, and maybe it wasn't as exaggerated as my mind was playing tricks on me, but I look over and I see JC, and I'm thinking, I'm going to pick JC to come join me on the track. Come on, buddy, oh boy. Right? We were on the helicopter together, right?
Come on,
And then,
coach.
and JC and I bonded a little bit. And I thought, you know what? I thought if something goes down that's not, good, I go, he's got his two boys, which are about the same ages as my two grandsons.
Yeah,
And I thought, I'm going to say, in a snap decision, I thought, I'm going to like not take JZ because of his two boys,
not yeah, not take JC. Yeah,
not take JZ. And then I look over, and then they're like, Dino, you've got to make, in my mind, I'm thinking, you've got to pick someone, like we're running out of time. And I felt a bit pressured, and I look over and I see Jazz, and I pick Jazz.
yeah.
And so, and all of a sudden she's like, I just remember her saying, like, what? I'm not like, and he asked me, why Jazz? And I'm thinking, that was my last ditch effort to pick a friend of hers to save my own butt. And it was a selfish. That
Well,
is honestly, Jeffrey, this is my only to the world out there, all 240 countries watching this, and you see Papadino on Jeffrey's podcast. This is my only, from my heart to you guys, this is my only regret in the game. Is taking you, Jazz. I wish I didn't. So it was tough, but
yeah. I this goes back to the physical team, because we like Jazz. Jazz is one of my favorite people from Beast Games.
yeah,
And we have this unique bond that's hard to explain. And I think a lot of it can go back to the physical team where we went through stuff that none of us have ever done, and we did it together. And so you chose Jazz. And I remember sitting back there going, oh, no,
yeah,
not Jazz. And again, I would have probably said that about everybody because like
right,
there's just such great people there. And like, we get so close and we know each other. And we were
yes.
very fortunate to get to the top 12 with 12 good people.
Let me
And
share, Jeffrey. Sorry, let me interrupt. Let me just share. Jazz and I, she loves fishing. Papadino loves fishing. Jazz has never been deep sea fishing. I've caught in big, like tuna, bluefin, yellowfin, right? I do that. I'm a charter master. I run boats out of San Diego. And so, I mean, her and I talked about her coming to San Diego. We're going fishing. We're going to be catching some big fish, stuff you can eat, like, like ahi tuna stuff,
oh,
right?
yeah.
And so we have these great conversations, Jazz and I. And to be quite honest, and I was thinking, I see her, we had a common bond, and I grabbed her, and and that was that was probably my only regret. I don't regret turning down $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't regret running point on, can you throw down, running, point on that. I don't regret being captain on the platforms in Vegas. I don't regret, teaching people CPR, of course. You know what I mean? My only regret in the Beast Games is asking Jazz to
And,
join me. It
and,
would have
and,
been somebody else.
and Dino, I think the hard part is it was Sophie's choice. You're darned if you don't, you're danged if you do.
Yeah.
And and Jazz, Jazz was a tough choice. So you choose Jazz, and I think Jazz made such a great plea. I loved her. I loved her plea to Tawana. Like, hey, you might not have, I might not have made an impact on you, but man, you made an impact on me. And it's true. Tawana is an amazing leader of women too. So then Queen chooses your first choice or your first line of sight, 566
Okay.
JC.
Yes.
And so he does end up getting on the tracks, but not from you. Did you have any hope right here?
Wow. That's a good question, Jeff. The I think I did. I had a little hope. I mean, I had relationships with Tawana and her husband and Mario, early on in the games. And hey, there's always hope. The game's not over till the game's over. So between myself and Jazz, with the relationships that we'd had with her, our fingers were crossed. Queen and JC, they're strong competitors. At this point, I'm just hoping they're going to take them out and not me.
And that's the crazy thing about the games is a lot of the times you think about, gosh, I want to save my friends, or I want to, you know, this person is an enemy. Like you think of Akira and the Hibibi brothers, but there's another kind of choice that, especially now as you get further in the game, where you kind of go, who is the toughest competitor? Like who do I not want to go against?
Yes.
And JC's social game was second to none. Like he was friends with everybody. And Queen, from my experience, was one of the best game players ever. Like she just always surprised me. I'm like, wait, how did you think of that so quick? How did you know this?
Really? Okay.
So I can totally kind of see, like it depending on what Tawana does. If she's going, hey, I want to take this person out because they're a threat, or I'd rather take out these two people because I think they're a threat, or this is why the trolley game is so diabolical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nuts. Okay, so obviously you're going to find out next week what
Yeah.
happens to Papa Dino. Do Papa Dino and Jazz live on, or do Queen and JC move ahead?
So I've had an opportunity to meet Kobe Bryant a couple times.
Okay.
And Kobe Bryant, one of his sayings is, and I have it here in front of me, so I got to read it. But basically, haters are a good problem to have. Nobody hates the good ones. They only hate the great ones. So
There
any
you go.
haters out there,
Hey.
don't hate the great ones.
And so what Dino's trying to say is he's great. And again, I called Dino out on this in episode 6. Hey, Dino loves him some Dino. And if you
Yeah.
don't have self-love, go find it because it's going to take you the far places. And when you do have the self-love, share it. Dino's a guy who is a superhero in real life. And, I appreciate all you've done for Beast Games. You were a great competitor
Thank you.
to play with. And it's just even more exciting to see what you're doing outside of the games to help people who need it, not just with CPR, but also with kind of fire prevention
Thank you.
and putting out fires in LA.
Anybody else out there watching, just do what you love what you do. As my friend Tony Robbins says, whether you say you can or you say you can't, you're right. If you say you can pull that monster truck, you can. If you say you can't, you can't. In addition to that, Jeffrey, here's one for you. Turn your shoulds into musts. Turn your shoulds into must. So don't say, I should really get up and put my shoes on and go for a run tomorrow morning. It's like, no, I must put my shoes on because I'm going to look better. I'm going to feel better. My kids are going to be proud of me, right? And so turn your shoulds into musts. And whether you say you can or you can't, you're right.
And on that note, I must say this has been an awesome episode of Beast Files with 380 Dino. Thank you for tuning in, and
Thank you, everybody.
we will see you next time.